Now that we're getting some content together, let's go ahead and see how Storyline handles this. Earlier in the course, I pointed out to you that this flag here indicates that it's the first scene that will play. So let's go ahead and do a preview, and let's do entire project. After Storyline generates the preview for us, hey, there it is. So we've seen this already. This is the start of our course. And now let's go ahead and put in our information here. So I'll put in my name. And by the way, I just pressed the tab key and that works really well. I have my name there and I click on next and it's not working. Okay, well let's take a look to figure out why that's not happening. Once you click on close preview, let's go ahead and click on the first slide here just to make sure it's selected. And when you do, take a look over on the far right hand side and you'll see that we have player triggers and we have jump to next slide when the user clicks the next button and jump to previous slide. So the interesting thing about Storyline is the next slide will only work if there's an actual slide afterwards. In this case, in our scene 1, we only have one slide and that's why it's not working. So we would actually have to change that trigger. Now before we do that though, let's go ahead and set this up so that way we can get to scene 2 and then come back to scene 1. And this will set us up for our later videos as well. So let's do this. Let's go ahead and insert a new slide and we'll just use the basic layout and we'll use blank. And let's do that one more time. So again, I'm right clicking, choosing new slide, basic layout, and then from there blank. Okay, so let's take slide 2 and let's have it go to slide 1 of scene 2. Here's how we're going to do it. Since the slide is already selected, let's go ahead and go to jump to next slide, click on it, and then let's go ahead and click on the edit the selected trigger button. Once we do that, we have action jump to slide, and then the slide says next slide. So let's click on the drop down and actually go down to scene 2 and then the first slide. Once we do that, the when is set already for user clicks or swipes, and then the object, which is the next button. Let's go ahead and click on OK. And wow, things just changed, didn't they, in StoryView? And the reason why it changed is because we made that connection. If I click on this first part here, now you'll see the arrow showing that it's connected to that scene. Now let's do this. Let's say after this content is over, we want it to go to slide 1.3. Alright, now's a great time for you to pause the video so that way you can go ahead and put in that trigger to go from slide 2.4 to slide 1.3. Just make sure you've got the right scene selected. Alright, let's go ahead and see how this works. I'm going to go ahead and select slide 2.4. Notice that the trigger buttons are already there, and the reason why is because the next and previous buttons are default in Storyline. So I'm going to go ahead and select jump to next slide. Earlier I pointed out the edit trigger button. You could also click on the words next slide, and when you do, it's not as pretty, but it does show you the quick list so that way you can tell it exactly where you want to go. And I'll take slide 1.3. As I mentioned earlier, it's really important to name slides so that way it's easier to work with later on. But in this case, since we're just putting in placeholders for now, it's perfectly acceptable. And the best part is, once you make the change to a title slide, for example, it will actually update in the triggers as well. Alright, let's go ahead and take a preview now of the entire project just to make sure it's working okay. I'll go ahead and do entire project. Hey, there it is, the first slide that we had, so I'm going to type in my name again. Then I'm going to click on next, and you might be like me saying why didn't it go anywhere, and the reason why is because we said go to slide 1.2. If you look over in the menu, you can see we're on that slide now. I'll click next. And hey, there we go, it jumped us into scene 2. There's the slides that we had. And then finally when I get to the last slide and click on next, it takes us to slide 1.3. Alright, there you go, we have things working now. I'm excited because in our next video we're going to get into variables so that way we can continue building this course and making it more engaging for our end users.